good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Bloody Disgusting Network. The following show is just horrifying. Beware.
Sheriff, you're not cheating on your wife if you eat my lemon square.
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. It's a Scream thing that we do whenever we hit an anniversary, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace. And yes, everyone, we are continuing a tradition that we started last year in which we talked about 25 things we loved about the original Scream. And now we're going to be talking about 25 things we love about Scream 2 just in time for its 25th anniversary. And if you're a patron, you're getting a double dose of Scream 2 today, since you can go and listen to our audio commentary of Scream 2 right now.
Indeed, yeah. So much Scream 2 because it's only, checks notes, the best fucking horror sequel of all time, Trace.
I mean, honestly, like, I don't even, like, want to, like, check you because I think you're right. Like, it is.
Of course. Yeah.
So, and I know there are some naysayers out there, and I know you're wrong, but it's okay.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about why. And here's the thing, because this is kind of I don't want to say weird thing of lists that we're going through, but it's not just like we'll have your general shit, like, but we also go through, like, really specific things. Like, I remember last year for Scream, I talked about a very, very specific music cue that plays whenever Drew Barrymore's parents are driving home as a reason that I liked Scream.
Yeah. It's not even just that you and I know a lot about these movies. We do. I would argue a lot of folks do. It's that for some reason, these movies have had this massive impact on our psyches. So, like, these are lines that I quote to my sister all the time, that, like, I bother my husband with, that when I think of Scream 2, here are some of the things that I always think of, even though they're such random, ridiculous little moments.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. I mean, I think a good chunk of our list are quotes. So we both tried a little bit to, like, not do all quotes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, yeah, these are things that, like, I will just be walking down my hallway in my apartment, and my husband will just say one of Scream 2's lines when we're talking. Like, it's just like, It's just something that we quote non-stop. And some of those quotes will be in this list today.
Indeed, yeah. So we each have 12, and we tried to make sure that we didn't overlap, and then we had to come to consensus on the top ranked piece. So they're not in any kind of order. I think we aim to sort of go a little chronological here throughout the film, but at the end of the day, this is just 25 random reasons why we love this movie.
Yeah, and you know what? Because mine actually is the very, very, very first thing we hear in the movie, so I'll go first. If you listened to our Scream 2 episode a couple years ago, you will maybe remember an anecdote where I discussed, I misheard and did not know the song that opens the film.
Oh boy.
So the song is She's Always in My Hair by D'Angelo, which is a cover of the Prince song, which, yes, I had to look that up today because I still didn't have that.
You still don't know it,
I don't know that song at all.
Music's not your thing, still.
Because the lyrics that I hear, it's the do, do, do. She's gone crazy, my girl. And that is not the lyric of the song.
That is not it. Fail.
But and then it's like da-na-na-na, 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 as we cut to the theater. So that is a reason why I love Scream 2, because it is a lyric that I have completely gotten wrong all 100 times that I've seen this movie, and I still sing it the same way.
Oh boy. Yeah. Folks will hear me talk a little bit about why I'm so in love with the concept of stab, and I feel like I bring it up whenever we have the opportunity to talk about a Scream 2 and on film. But I just think it's so ingenious where we as an audience know that what Casey Becker, who is played by Heather Graham in this film, when she gets a line wrong from the first movie. So for me, my absolute favorite of her very limited screen time is when she says, I don't even know you, and I dislike you already.
You know what's really funny? A, this line is gold, but you had actually written this incorrectly on our sheet that we're reading off of, and I had to go in and correct you. But what I also love about this is that whoever, I guess Kevin Williamson and Aaron Kruger, whenever they were writing or doing whatever their parts were on Scream 4, they knew this was a line that people really liked and had the Stabathon people quote that line in this movie.
So good. So fucking good.
So this next one's just a basic quote because, again, this is one that my husband and I say all the time, but it's whenever Jada Pinkett Smith tells Omar Epps, I got my money. I asked for your money.
It's so good. That is an eminently quotable quote.
It's so good. And, it's the thing. While Scream 2 is my favorite entry in the franchise, it is not my favorite opening. It's not even my second favorite opening in the franchise. But there are little things in this opening that I'm like, oh, but it's still so good, though.
Oh, for sure. In fact, my next one is in keeping with that same sentiment, and it is the absolute just like sheer despair and raw emotion that Jada Pinkett Smith evokes when she dies on stage after no one has helped her. Just watching her scream with the lights flashing in her face and everyone realizing, holy shit, this is actually real. And then she just falls over dead and we get that Scream 2 logo on there. Oh,
I'll piggy. This isn't one of my picks, but I'll piggyback on that because it's not just her scream. Because there's a moment after she screams where she just goes, like she.
Yeah.
It's such a human raw thing. And then when she falls, her head drops and she's dead. Yeah. And the camera holds there for I want to say 3 seconds before we get that Scream 2 title card.
Yeah,
so good, so good. But rewinding a tiny bit, I do love. So this is another one of my entries. It is when Omar Epps gets stabbed by the knife, but we just. He's listening to what Ghostface is saying, and the transcription on my subtitles is, please don't, mommy, no, I'll be good. You want to know why? Why I did it, mommy? I'll tell you. Really, I'll tell you why I did it, mommy. Listen, mommy. Listen, mommy. Stab. And you can't hear all that, but you can read it on the subtitles, and it's just, I don't know what this is, but it's so weird and so funny.
I mean, I'm sure people have speculated all of the different horror movies that Kevin Williamson could be referencing with this. I always choose to think of it as a bit of Black Christmas, but we'll see if anybody else has any other thoughts.
People sometimes think Friday the 13th because there's a part where Mrs. Voorhees speaks like Jason, when she's like, kill her, mommy, kill her. So some people think that too.
Yeah. I love that Williamson just keeps us guessing 25 years later.
Yep.
Okay, so mine is another quote. It's actually a pair of quotes in Sydney's new introduction. So it's opening weekend of Stab. She's already fielded a really stupid person who doesn't know what caller ID is. And we're introduced to the fact that the murders have happened by check out the news, girl.
Check out the news.
I love this glorified fucking extra as much as I like the blonde cheerleader in Scream 1. Just iconic delivery of a line where you're just like, that should not be memorable. And yet it absolutely is. But then talking about a proper character, my tie quote for this is when Hallie mimics Sid throughout the entire first half of the film where she's like, I'm fine. Yes, you're fine. It's stretched firmly all over your face. Hallie's the best friend. We should all aspire to have a Hallie.
Oh, I know. Love Hallie. And fun fact, actually, so if you got the 4K of Scream 2 that was released this year, if you look closely at that caller ID, you can very clearly see that the text on the caller ID is just a sticker that's pasted on top of it.
Oh no, 4K, ruining my childhood dreams.
Okay, so my next one is my first general thing, and that is the entire film school class scene.
Yes.
I say this because I know people hate this scene, because A, this is not what film school is, but I bring it up.
Oh, God, no.
because this is the scene that made me, outside of my general love for film, this is the scene that made me want to go to film school. I was like, I can go to film school, and I can talk about movie sequels. Like, that is, that's not what it is. But,
no. but they got you in the door, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Got me in the door. And I even love that Randy gets the aliens line wrong, even though it is a really egregious mistake in this movie. But it's also a reshoot, because there is a deleted scene of what the original version of this scene was, and we don't have Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. And it's like, it's bad. It's really bad. So if you don't like this scene, I implore you to go watch the alternate version and see what it could have been, which was worse.
It's so cheap looking. It's hysterical. Yeah. So my next one is also not a quote. So pat on the back for both of us. Mine is just Gail's chunky streaks. Like, this movie was a moment, and I do think it's very weird how, for no reason at all, we just dress Sydney and Gail very identically with like similar haircuts.
Yeah.
And they both have streaks, to be clear, but Gail's are just so fucking 1997 to me. It's hilarious. And every time I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, right. Chunky streaks were a thing back then.
It's so weird though, because like you can see, she's in Friends during all of these movies except for the fourth one. So the first three, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, like, her hair in the movies mirror in the show whenever it's there. She had this hairstyle without the streaks in Friends.
Mm-hmm,
so the red streaks were very specifically a Gale choice, and I just find that
Yes.
fascinating.
I love it. I love it.
My next one, again, this is something I found out later in life, but yeah, so the music that makes up Dewey's theme, the bow 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 bow,
Love it. Love it.
that is a reused score from the movie. I think it's John Woo, Broken
Yep.
Arrow.
It is. Yeah.
And, it's a thing where, like when they made the film, they were rushing to get this from the theaters, and they had a temp score on this scene because Marco Beltrami hadn't composed his Dewey's theme yet. And it just worked so well that they kept it. And
yes.
I you know what? It works. I have never seen Broken Arrow, but I'm just going to say, without having seen it, that it probably works better here than it did in Broken Arrow. So there you go.
It's a completely different context. So it's very weird to have seen both of them and to see them kind of play out in their respective movies. But yeah, I mean, this, I'm going to say iconic. I'm going to say love it. You're just going to hear me say it throughout this entire episode and probably also our audio commentary.
Right.
Everything about this movie is working, but particularly this music piece. This is just so memorable whenever I hear it, outside of Scream or inside. It is Dewey's theme. It brings me right back to when I first saw this film.
Okay, but yeah, all right, so yeah, that's mine. But what about yours, Joe? What's next?
So mine is so challenging, I couldn't even try to repeat the entire line of dialogue, but it is basically Dewey reading Gale for filth, while also seemingly not expiring from having zero breath to do it in. Like, I don't even know how he gets this entire monologue out.
Oh, I think about it every time because you can tell by the end he's straining. It's like when you're singing at karaoke and like you're trying to not breathe before you take your next breath before when you finish the verse. And I'm choosing to believe this was like a single take thing where it's like,
it
no,
had to be.
we got it.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to make you do it again because you nailed it, even though, yeah, it looked like you were about to expire at the end of it.
So my next one is back into quote land as well. What is the name of the news lady who's in all these
Nancy
movies?
O'Dell.
Nancy O'Dell. Okay.
I hate her.
I don't know her except for these movies because it's Entertainment Tonight that she's on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever. But no, it's whenever they show the clip with her and Tori Spelling, and then we just cut to like, like her and Tori Spelling, and she goes, "Oh, I love scary movies," and it's like the scene you just watched is not even
scary.
a horror scene.
It's the dumbest thing. And the funny thing is like that is part of the joke, which means that Nancy O'Dell and Tori Spelling were not only in on it, but they were like, yeah, no, we'll act stupid for this movie.
It's so funny. And good for Tori Spelling, too, because, again, we had the whole joke in that first movie where it's like, oh, like, with my luck, they'll cast someone like Tori Spelling. And they do. So Tori Spelling's even, like, her existence in this movie is an insult to her as an actress.
Yep.
And she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it.
Yep. But that's how popular this fucking movie was. Everybody wanted to be in it, even if you were literally making fun of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. So my next one is another tie, and it's mostly because they're lines that I say all the time in real life. So the first is Murphy, played by Portia de Rossi, before she was really famous, when she comes up to Sydney at the party and she goes, "Hi. No, I really mean that. Hi." Because it's a line that doesn't make sense. And it's just, that's what makes it so funny. Because you're like, wow, no, she really is this stupid.
It's just that gay bitchiness coming out of Kim Williamson.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
I'm choosing to believe that Portia de Rossi's character is based on that girl from House on Sorority Row, the one that's like, but how do we know she is alive?
Oh, I would not be surprised in the slightest. No.
Because she looks the same too.
She kind of does. Yeah.
But wait, what's it tied with?
Okay, so this one, I don't know if anyone else appreciates this the way that I do, but my sister and I used to yell this across the house at each other. It's Randy's line about Gale Weathers when she's basically interrupting Chief Hartley during his press conference, and he just looks at her, squints, and goes, She had calf implants.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, like, look, if you had just said this line, I would absolutely know, yeah, that's Randy in Scream 2. But I don't find it that funny.
It's because calf implants are one of the most ridiculous forms of plastic surgery that you could possibly get. And in general, it's not something a lot of women would get. Like, when you look at Gail/Courtney Cox, her calves are amazing, but it's also because she wears high-heeled shoes, which accentuate your calves.
Right. I was going to say, isn't she wearing a dress too? But it's like a knee-length dress, so I guess, like, it's a businesswoman's dress.
It is absolutely not knee-length, sir. She only wears, like, micro skirts.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. It's like half thigh length.
Yes, that's very nearly to the knee trace.
Yep, that's it. Okay, well, I have another tie for quotes soon. It actually is also about Gail. I love hearing Courtney Cox say "fuck," and
of course you do.
While her "fuck" whenever she's in the room, the AV room, and the doors doesn't lock, I love that. It's not my two, so I have a tie, and it is one when Joel is talking to her outside of Omega Beta Zeta, and she just goes, "Do not fuck with me." Love that. And then whenever once Randy has died and Dewey's like kind of like getting on her shit and she's like, "I just want to find this fucker." I love that.
Yeah, she does get to drop more than a few F-bombs in this movie, and she always delivers them with like extreme gusto.
It's just, I mean, because were you a Friends watcher? Did you watch Friends growing up?
Yeah, but it was like casual. I wasn't obsessed with it the way a lot of other folks were.
Okay, yeah. So it was definitely like a like must-see TV, like Thursday night, like Friends, Will and Grace. And then once WB, like the syndication started for Friends when it was still on, I would come home and watch like 2 episodes of Friends every day. Reruns. Sure. So I just, again, just like, watching my good girl, Courtney Cox, and then just spouting out fucks and Scream. Love it.
Dirty girl, dirty girl. Okay, so this is another one that I have nostalgia for because of my sister. So when we were growing up, our favorite Star Wars film was Return of the Jedi, which is a very uncommon selection when you have The Empire Strikes Back. But we were kids. And part of the reason that we like that movie is because we really like the Ewoks. So to hear Mickey disparage the Ewoks to Hallie when she says that she likes those little furry things, and he goes, "Those are Ewoks. They blow." I'm just like, wow, Mickey just read me to filth.
But you know what, though? That's a pretty common consensus, I think, for Star Wars fans is that the Ewoks do blow. But you're not alone, because my husband has made me watch, oh my god, it's one of those, like, Battle for Endor, like the Ewoks.
Yes.
Oh, god. He made me watch that when we first started dating, and I did not get it.
There's actually 2 of them. In the second one, they kill all of Sindel's family, and it's really traumatizing. It's kinder trauma.
It just goes into that whole, like, that uncanny, like, Muppet shit that I don't like to see. So, like, I don't care for the Ewoks at all.
Fair.
They blow.
They blow.
So I started out with my next note just saying the Showgirls reference, if only because it was how I first heard about Showgirls, and that line was at the end of every TV spot for this movie. So I remember asking my dad, "What Showgirls? Why is it such a scary movie?" And my dad, like, I didn't get the joke. But I'm actually going to pull it back and just say Randy's death in general, because I know a lot of people hold his death against Scream 2.
Yep.
Which is ironic to me, considering how many of the same people were bitching about how we weren't killing off any of the original trio in 4 and why we eventually killed Dewey in 5. Spoilers. But yeah, so I think that it's not on the same level as killing Drew Barrymore, but it's a character we have come to know and love, killed in broad daylight. There's a fucking boombox, or as you would say, a
No.
There's a fucking boombox in here. It's so silly. But again, I just love the gall to kill this character in this way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's the moment where you start to feel like the franchise actually could kill any of these characters. And the fact that it only happens twice in the 5 films that we've had so far is a bit of a testament to they're reticent to pull that trigger, but when they do, they make it count.
Yes. Yeah, they sure do. But, yeah, they just didn't do it for 3 and 4, which honestly I'm fine with. I'm
also fine with.
Yeah. My thing with 4 is, like, like, we didn't think we were going to get another one of those movies. So I was fine having the end of the franchise, quote unquote, leave all of them alive.
Well, that was 3 and 4, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Valid point.
So one person that they did not hesitate to kill is Sarah Michelle Gellar. She plays Cece in this, and I don't know that I will ever forgive Scream 2 for doing this. This was pretty much at the height of my Buffy hysteria.
Yeah.
I'd been watching season 1, like double dosing episodes all summer long. And then, of course, that iconic Entertainment Weekly cover story on Scream 2 came out, and she's on the cover with the other girls. So I definitely thought that Cece was going to be a main character. I'm always crushed whenever she dies. But I will say there is something just so memorable and iconic and lovely about the way Sarah Michelle Gellar answers a phone, Omega Beta Zeta.
I say, I have never been a part of the Greek system. I don't know Greek letters, but goddamn if I don't say Omega Beta Zeta daily. Also, again, to put this little time capsule, so October of 97, we've got I Know What You Did Last Summer, she dies. December of 97, Scream 2. And also, while this same semester, if you will, is season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So,
right.
I mean, it is like Sarah Michelle Gellar mania this time of year.
Oh, yeah. She is the moment. She is the future.
So my next one, okay, I've got a general one, and then I'm going to pinpoint one thing in it. But it is, of course, the car chase sequence that we get with Sid and Hallie. It is. We don't see a lot of cars in horror movies. They're like sequences set around or in cars, unless, it's like Cujo or Christine.
Right.
So the fact that we get something like this, and I think if I remember correctly, there was going to be something like it in the first movie that they couldn't use, or no. Kevin Williamson was going to use it in another movie, and he couldn't. Right. I think it was Halloween. No, you know what? I don't even know what it is. I'm not even going to say. But nevertheless, it gets repurposed here. And the part that I love about it, and it's such a silly thing, it's whenever Hallie is crawling over Ghostface. And again, like this is suspense. We have the
it's the tensest sequence, I would argue, in all 5 films.
Yeah, like the camera is like zoomed up on Ghostface's knocked out mask face, and then we're like seeing like Hallie, the horn honks at the worst possible time. But whenever Sidney is pulling Hallie out of the chair, the score, again, it's this weird piece of score that doesn't really fit the rest of the movie, and I have one of these things for 3 too that we'll talk about, I'm sure, next year. But it's just like this flutes that are going do 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 do, and it doesn't sound like the rest of the score at all, but I love it.
Yeah, I just love Craven's patience. And folks, once again, you can hear us react to this in real time on the audio commentary, but just everything about this sequence feels measured and extremely well paced so that your nerves are about to fray from tension. Like, watching Hallie and Sidney trying to crawl out of this fucking window is probably one of the moments in my teenhood when I was watching horror films where I was just like, I fucking feel this.
Yeah.
Like, with every fiber of my being, I am so nervous right now.
And you are right. Like, this is the most tense scene in the entire film. I mean, in the entire franchise. And there is another one that we'll get to in a minute. But, like, nothing in 3, 4, or 5 has matched the suspense in this scene.
Yeah. I'm eager to hear Jenna Ortega say that there's going to be chase scenes in the new film, because this and I Know What You Did Last Summer, whenever we talk about contemporary suspense sequences, we turn to those two, and there's a reason.
Yep, 100%. But you've got a quieter moment next on your list.
I do. I love the overt theatricality of this film. On my YA podcast, Brenda and I talk a lot about something called coincidental classes. It's a very common YA trope that whatever you're studying in class will come into play in the narrative of the film. So I love Sidney's struggle with the Cassandra complex, where she knows what's going to happen in the future because she has lived through all of this shit before. And Scream 2 leans into that by literally having her live it out on stage in this production. I love the costumes, that crushed red velvet. I love the set design of this, which we actually get to see play out in the climax on stage. And even just like David Warner with his sage advice, where he pops up for 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And it's just everything about this particular aspect of Sidney's arc works so fucking well for me. But it's her emotional vulnerability that I think sells her transformation into an ultimate final girl in this movie.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And actually, historically, this has been my least favorite scene in the film, because it is like this kind of, we're slowing down the action here. This is a much more introspective scene that is more so about Sidney's state of mind.
Yeah, or even like, is she going fucking crazy because she's hallucinating things during the rehearsal?
Yes, and so, but I'm happy to report that yes, like over the years, I have very much warmed to this scene. It just, it's just right in the middle of this movie.
It is.
I think it used to kill the pacing for me, and it doesn't anymore because I appreciate what it does for Sydney.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Growth for you.
There we go. Going back to my car escape, though. Well, I do kind of hate the way in which Hallie gets killed because I do think it's kind of dumb.
And also Sid's fault. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's like, look, I don't want to like talk about logic too much in these movies, but they are really good about making things realistic.
Uh-huh.
Ghostface sneaking out of this car and working around this construction to kill
Double
Hallie.
backing, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I love the over-the-top squelching sounds that because we don't see Hallie get stabbed. Like I think we get like one stab, and then we just see Sid's reaction as we hear.
Yeah, it's all in our minds based on these sound effects. The sound of leather being pierced by a sharp blade.
It is, but it sounds so wet, and I guess you could argue it is because she's bleeding, but
more so than any of the other stabs in this movie, though.
Yes, it's just such a loud sound effect, and I don't know why it's there, and I don't even know if it's particularly good, but I like it.
It's memorable, we'll give you that.
Yeah. But okay, you have now what is my favorite scene in this film next.
Ooh, yes. So this would be Gale's chase sequence. Well, it's not even really a chase, right? It's just an evasion. It starts at the bottom of this auditorium, and then she's got to find an open door in the hallway, and then she's making her way past these soundproof barriers, and it all culminates with Dewey getting stabbed. It isn't exciting in the same tense way that Sydney and Hallie's car escape is, but it's the way that Craven moves the camera for me, where it's like we're floating back and forth as we watch Gale try to dodge getting discovered in this really tight room. I love the way that space is captured in this sequence, and it's just another classic all-timer.
No, and this is the one that Jenna Ortega singled out. Like they're trying to have more scenes like this in Scream 6.
God. Oh, I think I just came.
But you're right, though. It is the fact that he does, in the room with the sound foam thingamajigs, like that is maybe 30 seconds of screen time. And
it feels like it goes on forever, though.
Well, because you hit the nail on the head, though. The fact that we keep it in one shot, and the camera's like floating, and I love, she rounds the corner just as Ghostface comes out from behind one of the other things.
It's so good.
It's so, again, it's not like scary, but you are on the edge of your seat during this scene. And as we always talk about with Wes Craven, he's captured the geography. Even though we've never seen this room before, we know what this room is because he takes us through it during the scene in question. It's so good. It's so good. This is one of my top scenes of like all time, not even in this franchise.
Wow. Impressive.
So, okay. So we're kind of moving into the climax here. So once we get the reveal that it's Mickey, the reveal, he's like, I got a secret partner in the wings. And like, we get the Gale fake out, which I actually do really like because I do think for a split second, you're just like.
You really do believe it could be Gale.
Even though everything we have seen before this makes it very clear she is not. Before a split second, you were like, oh my God, it's Gale. So Mrs. Loomis, Debbie Salt comes out, and I just love Timothy Olyphant's delivery of Billy's mother. Nice twist, huh? Didn't see it coming, did ya?
The way that he, tilts his head back to scream it at the sky. There's something it's such a specifically interesting choice that I feel like we don't always see, particularly in slasher reveals, right? Like, people don't get to have fun with the reveal the way that they do in a Scream film. But even though I don't think Mickey is like most people's top pick for a Ghostface reveal, Oliphant is just chewing into this.
Oh yeah, it's honestly him yelling into the ceiling is like the equivalent of ready for Act 3 or welcome to Act 3 that Jill does in Scream 4 and Amber does in Scream 5. So it's just almost like a meta commentary on just the narrative itself.
Yeah, exactly. So mine is actually taking a step back before the Mickey reveal, and it's when Sydney comes across Derek's body on the stage. And I mean, the Scream films have never been highly sexual. They do often deal with issues of sex, but it's often very slut-shamey around Sydney's mother and whether or not she's going to lose her virginity in that first film. So I love that Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven finally deem it worthy to give us a little bit of boy eye candy with Jerry O'Connell looking absolutely fit as fuck, crucified on this stage production in nothing but boxer briefs. And my David Dakota loving heart just kind of swelled, and maybe other parts of me also swelled, but in 1997, this was a nice moment.
I also do love, too, that once Mickey shoots him, Sydney tries to, she covers up the wound with her hand for a bit. As it just starts
gushing blood.
Just fruitlessly trying to stop the bleeding.
It hurts. Poor Sydney.
So, okay, my final individual pick, before we get to your individual pick and then our group one, our final big number, it's actually from the end credits of the movie. And it is because, so, during the end credits, we always get the cast next to their picture from the film. So we get this punk pop cover of the Partridge Family's I Think I Love You, and it's sung by the band Less Than Jake.
Such a choice.
I love this version to the point where I sought out the CD just so I could have this song. And it's such a weird cover of it, and I don't know if it was because, they, Less Than Jake already covered it, and they thought it was good, so they put it in the movie, or if they wanted to put the song in the movie, they commissioned Less Than Jake to do it, or what reason was it for? Unless maybe, so remember Copycat, whenever they do the Son of Sam stuff, and there's Partridge Family playing on the radio?
Oh, right.
I just wonder, and I don't think this is probably true, but I'm gonna reach for the stars here and just say that was a reference to the Son of Sam killings. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. You know what? If you're wrong, someone will correct you, I'm sure.
Nevertheless, I fucking love this song. I think it's so fun. Punk Goes Pop is one of my favorite subgenres of music, and this is perfect for me.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that you didn't pick, the Creed song that closes out the movie as well.
Oh, God, no. It's so literally every time I watched Scream 2 as a kid, I would fast forward through the Creed song because it takes 45 seconds of that before we get to the Less Than Jake song.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we got to crane up over Woodsboro College that whole fucking time. And it's just get to the Less Than Jake already.
I think exactly in the credits, we get to the costume design by Cassandra whoever, and then it's boom. Then we cut to the Less Than Jake stuff. Okay, what's your last individual pick before we get to the piece de resistance?
Okay, so mine is a final line of dialogue, and that is Sydney telling Mickey what did she do to basically get to this point. And it's basically, to me, the moment that Sydney truly switches from I'm a girl who runs and she doesn't want to deal with things. The whole movie is about her coming to final girl ascendancy status. And when she says, I fucking killed him about Billy Loomis, you're just it's a cheer-worthy fist pump moment in this movie. And I think it cements Sidney Prescott as just one of the all-timers.
It really is that. You're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. Oh, yeah? What's that? I fucking killed him.
So good.
Oh, it's so good. But, okay, so this is...
It's not our top pick.
Well, because, Joe, we haven't really even mentioned this character.
The white pantsuit in the room, you might say?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it. So, Joe, what is the number one thing we love about Scream 2?
I mean, nothing could be gayer than us choosing Debbie Salt's final monologue at the end of this movie. Laurie Metcalf is eating for days. You can tell, so much of this performance is just about getting to this moment. Who fucking cares about all the scenes creeping around Gale in the background? It is this villain monologue in this iconic white pantsuit that just absolutely seals the deal.
The whole fucking thing, her crazy eyes, and then it's the, let them try and track down the second possible killer. Debbie Salt doesn't exist! And it's, if you look at her face when she is saying Debbie Salt doesn't exist, it is, and that's also a quote that my husband and I will just say to each other all the time.
Oh my God.
No context. So I rewatching this today, I was like, I could literally come up with 25 things I love about this scene.
Yes, absolutely.
So it is just the whole fucking thing. I mean, I love how the stones that are used in the stage play are apparently very heavy, even though they look just like styrofoam.
They're made of foam. Yep.
And yeah,
I love the way she cowers behind Sydney, where she's like, cotton,
Whenever after Sydney does all the switches and she's walking back calmly, and then Mrs. Loomis jumps through the backdrop to get her.
Oh man,
there's just a shot. So Sydney escapes out of frame, and then you just see Laurie Metcalf just like scream with just like bloodlust in her eyes as she is completely lost it. Also, the against type casting of casting Laurie Metcalf and Jackie and Roseanne at the time in this role is so
out of the box,
so good. Well, I think I've told you this. Like, I didn't like this was my least favorite killer reveal when I was a kid because I didn't like that the killer wasn't someone we knew, and even though it was, it was like this, you know, oh shit, identity and blah blah.
Supporting character. I didn't even pay attention to her.
Yeah, very much so, and it now has become literally my favorite climax of the entire franchise, specifically because of this performance.
Yeah, I feel like it's just teetering on the line of outright absolute camp, but it's still serious enough that you're really actually worried about what's going to happen. Like, you have to take Mrs. Loomis seriously because she will fucking kill you.
Yeah, she is a legitimate threat while also being completely unhinged.
And ridiculous, yeah. Like, watching her try to break down that door, I'm just like, girl, you need to get you therapy.
She needs to, like, you know, build some momentum up and not just like, ugh.
Oh, boy.
Okay, everyone. Well, those are 25 reasons why we, Joe and I, your horror queers, love Scream 2. But we want to know, why do you like Scream 2? And get weird with it. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, give us your general ones like we've given you, but give us those weird, like, what's a soundbite that you like? What's a shot or something going on in the background that you like? Those are always the things that are really fun for me. And so, you know, sound off.
Yeah. Check out the news.
Check out the news. But yeah, so, you know, hopefully you enjoyed this as much as we enjoyed talking about it. And, you know, if you've missed out, go sign up for our $10 tier on the Patreon and listen to our Scream 2 audio commentary. And by listen to it, I mean, you get to watch it with us in real time. So it's really fun.
Yeah, we're coming up on like 220 hours of content on that Patreon. So all of the good stuff, including a Scream audio commentary as well. But yeah, I mean, that Scream 2, hot and fresh, right off the presses, folks.
But yeah, stay tuned for our main feed episode on Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings this week. But, you know, until then, I guess we can cross out 25 reasons to love Scream 2.
Indeed, and cross out horror queers.
Atlas Avenue, a long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.